So let's talk about a subject that I think is somewhat underrated, um, and it's knowing when to train hard and when to train smart. I think it's a thing that's is super important to consider, especially as a beginner. Um, Although intermediate and advanced athletes, everyone can benefit from this. Um, I think it's super important to understand that there are periods of your training where everything just seems to go well. And there are other periods where it's the exact opposite and you have no clue what you're doing wrong. And sometimes, chances are you're not really doing anything wrong. You haven't changed too much in your training schedule. So you've just got to understand how to get through these periods of training. Um, I think when things go well, it's easy. You kind of just you push yourself, and you try and break through your old limits and your old PRs. But when things are going a little bit more downhill, that's when you have to be really careful. Because the problem is, it's not just the fact that your training is not really going well. It's the fact that you're putting yourself at risk training when things don't seem to be going so well. You're at risk of injuring yourself first and foremost, I think, um, and of just that kind of that ruins all of the hard work that you've put in. Last few months, few years, whatever, all the most recent PRs that you have. And so sometimes you have to just you have to lift your foot off the gas a little bit, and you have to just you have to really fight and wrestle with your ego. That's the most difficult thing, because there are times when you just have to lift at 70%, 80%, even less if you really need to, um, and you just need to maintain. You need to maintain. That should be your focus, right? You're having a tough training period. Just try and maintain what progress you've made so far. Don't stress too much over it. Maybe you'll feel like you're losing gains or you're losing progress in a way. But the key to training is patience because it's a long term thing. It's a long term thing. It's really funny because in maybe a week, a month, or a few months, you won't really notice anything too considerable in terms of progress. But a year goes by and you look back and you're almost shocked, what you've achieved. And so it is an incredibly long term thing training, regardless of what you're training for. Whatever your goals are, they won't ever be reached. In a short period of time, and even a year is a short period of time in terms of certain things. So be patient. Be patient with every little thing, and don't be hard on yourself. I think that's the. It's difficult. It's difficult because a lot of the times I've been through this myself. You tell yourself you lifted this weight, a week ago, 2 weeks ago with ease, and you can't do it now. And there's no need to put yourself down for these sorts of things. I know it's frustrating, but like I said earlier, it's an ego thing. That's something that you have to really wrestle with. And it is indeed a fight. It's indeed a fight with between you and your own ego. And I think you have to learn how to dominate, how to win against yourself. It's a tough challenge. It's a tough challenge, but there's so much to learn from it. And so that being said, um, train hard. Train hard when things are going well, and you physically and mentally feel well. You feel healthy. You feel just ready to rip. You feel strong. But when things aren't going so well, and there's various reasons for it, just you know, back off a little bit. Back off a little bit. Training, even if you're training a strength for, say, like myself, you're a weightlifter. It's all about lifting heavy weights, but you have to understand that heavy is a subjective thing. First of all, from person to person, of course, but even within yourself, the weight, the certain feeling of heaviness of a weight, if that makes sense, um, can differ drastically, and it can differ from day to day. And so you don't have to stress if you're not capable of lifting a weight that you once were capable of lifting, or if you feel like your one rep max that you recently did, say a month ago, now feels unattainable. things like this just happen. Um, Personally, I have no idea why sometimes. Certain things are just they're difficult to explain, and it is what it is. You know, the whole training thing. It's got its ups and downs, and it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable to a surprisingly big extent, and so these are the moments when you have to just train smart. There's two, yeah. There's two. These are the two ways of training. Um, but you have to really be aware of when to train hard and when to train smart. That's the most important thing.